Welcome, everybody. Thank you for waiting a few minutes. We were just making sure that everybody are here. Thank you for joining us to this beautiful webinar, Across Borders, Beyond Barriers, Women in the Ceramic Sector. And today we are celebrating 8th of March, the International Women's Day. So thank you for being with us. This webinar is organized by European Ceramic Society, a Refractory Network, by Federation for International Refractory Research and Education, and Women at Refractories. And regarding the questions that you will have, I just want to make sure from the beginning that you know that you will write your questions in the chat. But I will read your questions during the panel discussion, during the roundtable at the end. You can write them during the presentations, but we will come to them later during the panel discussion. And if you're wondering who is participant in this webinar and who are the organizers, you can see us here. First, we have Sandra Abdelabach and she's program manager, refractory and clay materials from Belgium Ceramic Research Center. And she is in ECerS Refractory Network for more than a year. Then we have Tobias Stefan, who is a research associate and AI innovation manager, and Kerstin Hauke, head of business development, and they're both from FGF from Germany. And here I will ask for help from you if you can pronounce me full FGF, because I will not try.
Yeah, it's Forschungsgemeinschaft Feuerfest.
Thank you. And both of them are co-founders of Women at Refractories. Then we have our first speaker, that is Nicole Tomaszewski, and she's head of region Asia, Kremer Etzkontor company in Germany. And our second speaker, Katrin Gelsdorf, she's a global head of people and culture at Refractechnik in Germany, and both of them are members of Women at Refractories. And I'm your moderator. So all these people organized this webinar. I'm here to guide you through it. I'm Antonia Ressler. I'm postdoctoral fellow, and I work at Tampa University, where I lead the Glass Bones project. And I'm ECerS Young Ceramics and Training Working Group leader, and also member of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. And with that, I will give the floor to Tobias and Kerstin to tell us more about women and refractories. At refractories, sorry.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Can you see my slide?
Yep, yes.
Okay. Yeah, good afternoon to everyone. Yesterday was International Women's Day. That's the perfect moment to introduce Women at Refractories. We are a network for women in the refractory industry. And this industry, where women make up just 10 to 20% of the workforce, in some companies, we have only 3 out of 100 employees are women. That's few opportunities to connect, to share experiences, and to support each other. And we are changing that. We are connecting women across company boundaries and around the world. We are a global network dedicated to visibility, to connection, to education and inspiration. Because in an industry with such low female representation, the 3 things are crucial. I'm sorry. The first thing is visibility, because we want to showcase the incredible women in this industry, because you can't be what you cannot see. And so we show you the role models that inspire the next generation. And the second thing is connection. We bring together women in the industry across companies and continents. We creating a community where we empower each other, where we can exchange ideas and we can grow together. And the third thing is education and inspiration. We want to share knowledge, and we want to break down stereotypes and inspire women to pursue their careers in STEAM and technical fields. And now you will hear from two inspiring women out of our network, Nicole and Katrin, about their careers and why community matters. So I hand over to Antonia.
Thank you very much for your work, initiative, and everything that you are doing, and for the presentation. We can now go to Sandra, and she will quickly introduce Refractory Network. Sandra, please, can you unmute your mic, please? Okay, just mic?
Yes.
Yep, perfect.
So, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So my name is Sandra Abdelwahab, and on behalf of the ECerS Refractory Network, I would like to warmly welcome you, first of all, to our second webinar. And so before starting, I would like to briefly introduce you what the ECerS Refractory Network is. So this network was officially created in July 2024 with the ambition of bringing together academic, industrial researchers and young scientists working in the field of refractories. So the idea is simple. It's to create a community where people can connect, exchange knowledge, and share innovative research related to refractory materials. And beyond scientific exchange, the networks also aims to strengthen collaboration between academia and industry, and also to promote ongoing research activity and to open new opportunities for young scientists entering in the field. And also through this initiative, we hope to build bridges between ECerS members and the wider refractory community, including the FIRE network, and ultimately to contribute to shaping the future of refractory materials together. So our first webinar was in November 2025, and in connection with the European project Resource. And today's our webinar is particularly meaningful, as it is organized in connection with International Women's Days, and also in collaboration with the Women at Refractories networks. And so it is therefore an opportunity to highlight the role and contribution of women in our field. So that's all for me, Antonia.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Yes, I think that you joined such a big forces here, like ECerS, a refractory network with women at refractories. It sounds like you're really working together towards making the impact. And thank you for these presentations. As a short introduction to our attendees, who is organizing this webinar, so you know who is behind this. And with this, I think we can go to our first speaker, to our Nicole. And before you share your wisdom and knowledge with us, I will just shortly read your impressive CV or summary of it. You will all see that when I read it, that her biography reflects a multicultural upbringing and a career shaped by Chinese expertise. So it's very impressive. Nicole Tomaszewski, she was born in Frankfurt in Germany to a Mexican mother and Greek father. She grew up in a family where various languages were spoken. She navigated identity challenges while developing a strong curiosity for cultures and languages. This curiosity led her to study sinology, Chinese studies. Despite skepticism from others who viewed it as impractical, she excelled academically and earned a scholarship to Beijing University, where she built resilience while adapting to a completely different environment. Her personal journey began in China, where she was often the only non-Chinese team member. She was unexpectedly tasked with selling high-purity magnesia to Europe. Despite having no background in mining or refractories, she learned the industry from scratch and built a network in the refractory industry. Through building trust through intercultural understanding to her teammates in China, she became part of the inner circle as the only woman in a team of more than 20 Chinese male sales managers. Today, she serves as a managing director of Kremer Escontor Hong Kong and head of region Asia, overseeing sourcing and sales across China and India. She actively supports women at refractories, advocating for diversity, better working conditions, and visible role models in the industry. Her message emphasizes courage, authenticity, and resilience. Nicole is also married and mother of 2 young kids. So, Nicole, with that, thank you for being with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank
And
you
if
very
we,
much, Antonia, for
you're
your
very welcome.
kind introduction. Can you see my screen?
We can see only us. So you are sharing your screen, but we don't see the presentation.
Um,
Now I see your desktop.
all right.
Yeah, now perfect. Yes.
Very good. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar hosted by the European Ceramic Society Refractory Network and Women at Refractories. My name is Nicole Tomaszewski, and today I want to talk about how multicultural insight and China expertise formed my career. I will also explain why it is not only important what your skills are, but who you are and if people can trust you. Today, I serve as the Managing Director of Kremer Erzkontor Hong Kong and Head of Region Asia. And in this role, I oversee all sales into the Asian market and monitor our projects across the region. I work to secure the supply of raw materials that are essential for refractory production. But the way that led me into this role was rather unconventional. And see,
Nicole, we lost your
I
slide.
prefer, yes, I
Okay.
prefer to see the team because there are just the 3 slides. So we can look at it
Okay,
later.
sorry.
Yeah, because I don't see myself when I share the slides. So firstly, to understand my multicultural background, you must know that I was born in Frankfurt, Germany, a city that is truly international with people from various countries. And with one of Europe's biggest airports, I always felt connected to the whole world. And yes, as you just mentioned, with a Mexican mother and a Greek father, I not only learned the meaning of multicultural from a very, very young age, but it was actually a very important part of my life. And 3 languages were spoken at Spanish, Greek, and German. This shaped me more than I realized at the time. However, this multicultural background often felt like a burden, and I thought life would be much easier if we were just German. When I was a child, my parents didn't speak German very well, and every time we received letters from various offices or from the teachers, I had to translate it to them because their German was just not so good enough. And many teachers, they also struggled to pronounce my last name correctly because it was a foreign name. And often, whenever people asked me where I was from, they would simply just don't accept my answer that I was German and often say, oh, but you don't look so German. Oh, but your parents are surely not German. So there were always people questioning my identity, basically. At the same time, I always felt very curious about other countries and other cultures and people and how others live and think in different parts of the world. So this curiosity made me very eager to travel. And traveling became my way of connecting and learning and understanding. And eventually, this curiosity led me to China. So besides the 3 languages at home, in school I learned English, French, and Italian. And when I went to university, I wanted to study something new, but still remain in the same field that I always loved, languages and cultures. So I ended up studying sinology, which is the language, the culture, the history of China. And I was 19 years old at the time. So most students chose something safe or practical, and often they seem to know where they wanted to work in the future. I didn't. So I remember some of my classmates, they wanted to study medicine and become a doctor, or study law and then become an attorney. And for everyone that made sense. But in my case, when I mentioned that I plan to study sinology, first of all, very few people know what it actually is. And then some people were impressed, but most of them were actually confused, and they were wondering as to why someone would want to study what they called a breadless art. So they were actually thinking, how can someone can make a living out of that? So as a matter of fact, I financed my studies myself, and I have been working since I was 16, so I was never breadless. And therefore I trained myself to not always listen to other people's opinion, and I became my own #1 supporter. The pressure for studying sinology was quite high, and we had exams every week, and almost weekly someone failed the exam and left the class. So I knew I had to study very hard if I wanted to receive my university degree. So I was constantly busy, either working or studying. Consequently, I even received a scholarship to study at one of China's most prestigious universities, at Beijing University, because for 1 semester, because at some point I was among the top 10 students in my year. But living in a completely different environment and clearly standing out as a stranger was not easy. However, it helped me to become more resilient. China challenged me, not only learning the language, but also trying to understand the mentality and the way of thinking. And this understanding would later become one of the most important tools in my career. Now, after spending half of my life working with China, I can even say that China became part of my DNA. And the lesson that I took from it is that sometimes you just have to do your thing. I started my career working in China and often being the only non-Chinese person in my team. I worked in an environment where my language skills and my cultural understanding mattered every day. And although I stood out due to my different appearance, I always felt like I belonged to the team. And while I was working for one of the largest Chinese producers of paper, based at the Düsseldorf subsidiary, the company started a joint venture in the mining business. And suddenly some employees were asked to move to our new company. a producer of high purity magnesium. And one day they called me and said, Nicole, we need you to sell Gao Chun Mei Sha into the European market. So at that time, I didn't know the meaning of Gao Chun Mei Sha, high purity magnesia, and I wasn't even able to visualize it. I had no background in mining, no background in refractories. I had no idea what DBM and FM even meant, and only later I understood this. These are the industry's abbreviations for dead, burnt magnesia, and infused magnesia. But I said yes, mainly because this duty was entrusted to me. And my boss knew that he needed someone for this job, and he thought I was the right person for the job. And also, he probably just didn't know anyone else he could have asked. However, I knew my boss well, and I trusted that he had made this decision as the best decision for me and the company. So later I received all the information, the spreadsheets, the technical data sheets about the product and how it is produced, but it was all in Chinese. So I had to translate everything, which was a lot of work, especially for me, as technical terms were not in my repertoire. So reading all this information in my mother tongue would have been challenging enough, but in a foreign language, it was even harder. So I persevered, but yeah, my vocabulary list got longer and longer. And my intercultural competence became my biggest advantage because the team I worked with was based at the northern part of China, while I was located in Germany. And I was the only woman in a team of more than 20 Chinese male sales managers. I stood out, but I was accepted. And because I understood their values, I was able to build trust. And it is important to be authentic and be true to yourself. I did not only learn about the product, but also what I like to call the laws of the jungle. And some situations were really tough. And sometimes I thought, how did I even get into this situation? But at the same time, I received insights that I could have never learned from a book. And eventually I became part of the inner circle. And on certain occasions, I tried to avoid receiving a favor as a woman or as a non-Chinese because my credo was same rules for everyone. And I had experienced that some people fail when dealing with other cultures because they do cherry picking, which means that they seem only to understand the part of the culture that comes with an advantage for them, but seem not to understand the culture when it comes with a disadvantage. So I started in the refractory industry from scratch. I collected information. I asked for samples from the plant, and yeah, I contacted companies across Europe and tried to sell these raw materials. I built a network, which wasn't easy because people in the refractory industry seemed to all know each other for decades. So to enter this was really not easy. And in the beginning, there were also many situations where I was just by myself and doing things alone, as my colleagues were all in China. So I just pushed myself to speak to people and made the first step. And even today, I remember those who were kind and helpful that helped me to feel more accepted in this industry. Although I think they should have been too busy to guide me on making my first steps in this industry. And especially to the giants in our industry. I'm still thankful as it helped me to feel accepted. And these are the gestures that people will remember when it comes to attracting or retaining people. And slowly, step by step, I found my way into the refractory world. In my current role as Managing Director for Crema Erzkonto Hong Kong and Head of Region Asia, I often get to travel to China because this is where we have our offices for the sourcing of raw materials. And I often travel to India as this is our biggest market in the Asian region. So I deal with the two most competitive markets in our industry, China and India. My path into this industry was unconventional, but there is a saying I really like. The journey is the destination. And when I was asked to step into this role, my second child was only 2 months old. And I accepted and started in this role a few months later. Because I've learned that when an opportunity comes, you don't hesitate too much and you don't wait until you feel perfectly prepared. There is no perfect timing anyways. So my advice is that if you get a chance, just take the chance and you will grow into it. If you wait too long, the opportunity might disappear. And today I support the initiatives from Women at Refractories because this community consists of people that inspire me. And this platform gives people from various backgrounds a stage to share their story and act as role models. And role models show us that successful people are just normal people, and often their career just didn't follow a straight line. If you find a role model, I encourage you to just go and talk to them and not run from them, and you might even win a mentor. I joined this network because I believe in change. I believe that we can create better working conditions, especially for the younger generation and for women that are still underrepresented in this industry. And I believe in encouraging more people to join our industry. And because the refractory industry is a great place to work. And it's global, it's dynamic, it's full of innovation and purpose, and it needs people with different perspectives and diverse backgrounds. My final takeaways for you are: don't be afraid to be the first one, or to make the first step, or even to be the only one. Be courageous and resilient, and don't let others discourage you or project their own fears onto you. And I'm a sonologist. Not everyone needs to be an engineer. And there's space for many talents, many backgrounds, and many stories. And everyone will go their own way. My path was not traditional, but it was mine. And I'm thankful for every step. And finally, have fun with what you do. This is really my most important message to you. And thank you for listening, and thank you for being part of this community.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you. It was so inspiring. Your story really truly is something that we need to hear, because you break so many barriers, you know. It's not that you break the barrier as a woman in refractory, you break the barrier that you came from another field. And I think your story also tells that, like, if we follow our intuition, so you followed your intuition that brought you to where you are today, it's really beautiful. I have a lot of
Thank you.
questions, but I will leave it for the panel discussion, but I feel very inspired. This was really nice. Thank you. And I think with that, we can move to our second speaker. And Her name is Katrin Gelsdorf, and she is Global Head of People and Culture at Refractory Group, where she leads people and culture across the full employee life cycle. She translates business strategy into scalable governance structures, operating models, and leadership architectures that drive accountability and measurable performance impact. With over 2 decades of international experience across energy, life sciences, and manufacturing, she brings a systematic and cross-industry perspective to organizational development. She holds a degree in business education, psychology, and German studies, which informs her strong focus on learning, leadership development, and cultural dynamics. Her work centers on designing coherent people systems that integrate talent, performance, leadership, and culture into structurally echoed frameworks. Katrin combines systematic organizational development, agile methodologies, and AI fluency with a strong coaching foundation. She's a certificated business coach and systematic supervisor. She believes growth is both structural and rational, enabled by strong systems and activated through responsible leadership and engaged communities. Thank you so much for being with us, and we are looking forward to your presentation.
Yeah,
So the
thank you
floor is
very much
yours.
for this kind introduction, and hello everyone. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, it should work now.
Yes, we see the slides, only it's not in the full screen mode.
Oops. Now.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm truly happy to be here and to be part of this very important conversation of both very important networks. Communities like this only exist because people invest their time and energy. So thank you very much for creating this space for us and for all the participants. Yeah, my name is Katrin. I'm head of people and culture, and I also work as a coach. And in both roles, I often think about one simple question, what really helps people to grow, not only in a job role, not only as a promotion, but to grow in terms of development. So by becoming more capable, more confident, more effective, and at the end also more happy. And when I look back at my own past, one thing becomes really very clear. I did not grow because I had a perfect plan. I had not. I grew because of the people around me and because I chose to engage with them. And this is only what Nicole already mentioned. Always look out to others, always look out to interesting people to connect and also share your own stories. Yeah, and this is actually what I would like to talk about today. So why communities shape growth and why we must take an active role in them that we can grow. And before I show a little bit more about my own story, let's start with something very simple. There is a well-known idea in psychology from Kurt Lewin, and he said behavior is shaped by the person and by the environment. So this means also growth is not only about individual skills and motivation and values and effort. This is all important, of course. This is one part. But growth and behavior, so this means to develop, to do good things and so on, this is also shaped by the environment. So the culture, the access you have to certain opportunities, networks, structures, all this is important. And important is really to grow, always to look at the individual things, but also who supports us, who challenges us, and yeah, what opportunities are there we can take. And to speak a little bit more personal about my own story, I come from a non-academic family. So I was the first one in my family to go to university. And I can tell you, without mentors and support, I think this path would have been much harder and maybe not possible. And so when people ask me today, how can I grow? Because they very often come to me as I have an HR role. I often ask them back and ask, who's around you? What environment are you in? And are you in a place that supports your development? And the most important finding for myself, looking back at my own story, was always growth does not happen in isolation. It happens in context. And this is also what Kurt Lewin actually tells us in his studies that are still valid when you look at psychology and also personal development. And then there is another concept I use very often, and maybe you have heard about it. It's the Ikigai. It comes from Japan, and it describes the idea of finding meaning where four things meet. Yeah, because when you look at your development and at growth, and also at a career, there's not only one thing that plays a role. And the Ikigai describes four important areas. One area is your passion, so what you love, what you truly love. And this was also what Nicole already described in her own story. You need this strong inner driver. I would say it's half of everything to have your own passion and to be very clear about it. Then there are the things you're good at. So this is more the profession, so what you learned. And I mean, you see already there's an overlapping between passion and profession. Then there are the things what the world needs, because we are all in a market, also when it comes to the employer market. This, of course, plays a role. This is more about mission. And then, of course, also and what you can be paid for, because at the end, we all need an earning. And you see there's a lot of overlapping. And when these things come together, growth feels really very natural and sustainable. Yeah. Then you have actually the perfect, the perfect thing. And there's a lot of information out there. So just Google for Ikigai, and you will find a lot of helpful reflecting questions, also to check on your own. And yeah, in my own career, I did not have a detailed plan, but I had something else. I had a very strong inner compass. So I knew what felt right. So I had a lot of strong values, and I still have. And I knew what did not feel right. And this is already very important, to listen to your inner self and trust your inner self, because actually it's much more much more clever than most of the people think it is. And yeah, what I did not know early in my career was what I was really good at, because I came from a family that had another or a different focus. So I knew, of course, my grades in school, but school grades do not tell you your strengths. Not really. This is another system. And I only discovered my strengths, to be honest, through other people, through conversations, through feedback, and also through working together, and to learn more and more about myself through others, through communities, through networks. And this was another important finding for me. You do not discover your strengths alone. You discover them in dialogue, and when you reflect in a very holistic way, as the Ikigai also shows you. There is not only one important thing that helps you to build your career in a very positive way. Yeah, and back to my career. So I also did not start in the refractory industry, as you have already learned. So I'm now about 2.5 years in the refractory industry. I originally trained as a vocational school teacher, and after that I worked for almost 20 years in other industries, so energy, biotech, and I even didn't start in HR. I started in sales and public relations. So when I moved into the refractory industry, it was not early in my career. It was after 2 decades of experience in other fields. And again, the move happened because of people, not because I didn't know much about the products. It happened because through my network, and I came into contact with my current employer. And what convinced me was not the product, not the structures. It was the conversations. Because I felt alignment in my values, I felt openness, I felt also trust. And after 20 years, I mean, you can compare company cultures and environments. And I realized this is a place where I can contribute and grow in a new way, because this is an environment that is open also to my ideas. And yeah, also this shows you again, so growth does not always mean moving up or staying in one environment. Sometimes it just means moving into the right environment. And this is a step that only happens because also I was in dialogue and open to new connections. Yeah, if I go back in time a little bit, so earlier in my career, I learned another important lesson. When I started in the first company, so my first job in the industry, I was part of a trainee program. And after some time, it became clear that the program was not working as expected. So I had 2 options. And one was I could stay silent and wait, but this was not very satisfying. Or I could speak up, but honestly, at this time, I was not brave enough for this. But I did something else. So I started talking to other trainees, and I realized after some time that I was not alone in my experience. What in the beginning felt as a personal frustration became step by step a shared issue, because the others also were not satisfied. So we organized our feedback, and we approached the leadership. And at first we were told to be patient, but we continued the conversations. And then after some time, we were invited to present our ideas to the HR leadership and the board. And yeah, what happened? So shortly after that, I moved into my first leadership role, and I had the task to improve the trainee program. And this was actually how I came to HR. So it was really from the side and from my own engagement. And this would not have been happened if I would have stayed passive. But I was also not strong enough to do it alone. So the community I had at this time, the other trainees, this community created courage. And yeah, this was possible because I took an active role and we helped each other. So when we talk about community, so what do we actually mean? As I think most of you know, a community is not just a group of people. It's not just attending certain events. A community is a space where people connect, where people share knowledge, a common purpose, where people support each other, and also where people create visibility for one and another. And very importantly, a community amplifies voices. So you're not alone. So alone, you have an opinion. This is also important. But in a community, you have influence. So a community is a very active thing. It's also not something you can just consume. It's something you contribute to. And growth in community requires, of course, participation. And you can attend, yes, but also speak up, ask a question. This is always a first step. It's very easy. Comment on something, like something when it's a digital community. Offer help. Everybody has something to offer. Yeah. Also volunteer in something. Everybody is a talent in my point of view. Everybody has strengths. And then growth is a very mutual thing. And this is also why networks like Women at Refractories and the European Ceramic Society matter. They are so important, not only for our industry, also for your personal growth. And in technical industries, information and opportunities very often flow through networks. So this is my experience also from other industries. It's not special to the refractory industry. This is special to all technical industries. And communities also help to make these informal rules more visible, and they connect also not internally different functional areas. They connect also companies. So like the two networks here are doing, and they create role models and they open doors. And I can only agree with Nicole. So if you see someone, a role model, somebody, just connect, because people are so open to connect. Ask a question. So everybody is willing to answer a question. Yeah, and again, these communities can only live if members engage, and yeah, if people are not just part of the network. So it's in our all hands to shape important communities. And the more you contribute, the stronger the communities become, and the more it supports also growth. Yeah, and today in my role as head of people and culture, I see growth as something we create together. Of course, structures matter and are important, processes matter, leadership behavior matters, but systems alone do not create growth. It's always the people that activate systems and that enable growth. And even the best culture does not work if people stay passive. And so growth is, again, something co-created. And yeah, this also shows this slide. So communities shape us and we shape communities. So when people look at a CV, they often see positions and timelines. When I look at my own development, at my CV, I see conversations, I see mentors, networks, moments where I chose to step forward, also failures, mistakes, hard times, nice times. So there's a lot of ups and downs also in a career. And yeah, to sum up, I think the most important message for me is today that growth is rarely an individual achievement. Don't take this alone on your shoulders, because there's still also no equality of opportunities. So we are still in a world where not everybody has the same access to opportunities. And but if you are part of a community, you can support each other and you can encourage others. So I would like to leave you with two questions, actually. And the first one is, where is your growth currently being shaped by others? And the second one is, and where are you actively shaping growth for someone else? Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much for this beautiful presentation and for like food for our thought with the questions that we can go with today. But it is so funny from my perspective how both you and Nicole are talking about when you see role model, when you meet role model, but you are indeed real role models for us because like what I see that you have done, like both of you, when you were faced what somebody would look as a struggle or challenge, you just grab that and just put it in your favor and like grow from it. So it's such a beautiful. Both stories are so beautiful. Yeah. So thank you to both of our speakers. Now I think we can start with our roundtable or panel discussion. So I would like to ask the participants to write your questions in the chat. And while you are writing your questions, I will use the chance to go to Kirsten and Tobias and to ask them because you put your mission to women at refractories and you are making a change. And I think both of you are the perfect people to ask what change did you saw through the years and did something changed? So if you can just tell us more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to absolute figures, we don't have any industry statistics to know on how much the absolute numbers of women, for example, have changed since the creating of women in refractories. But what we can clearly observe is a completely new dimension of visibility for women in our industry. And the level of networking through events like this by ECerS and Women at Refractory, it continues to grow. And fortunately and happily, we are seeing more and more female voices asserting themselves and becoming louder and louder in a, well, we all know it, mainly male-dominated industry like the refractory industry. So in summary, we can say that we do not have an overview of absolute figures, but we are clearly seeing at a broad awareness of equality issues. And the response we are receiving underline the importance of such networks, communities, such as the ECerS Refractory Network or Women at Refractory. And it's a perfect indicator of we have to move on with these initiatives and we have to spread the word. So
Yes.
that is our mission.
Thank you so much for such a beautiful mission. Yeah, I think that even if you don't have the numbers, but if you are the people who really can see it because you are like so close to it, I think that's perfect positive message that we can go with on. Yeah, perfect. Yes, I don't see still the questions in the chat, but I have a lot of questions, so I will still wait that you write it. So if you are if you want to dedicate your question to some of the speakers, just write the name and the question. If you want that everybody comments it, you just put the question. But if I can go around everybody who are here of the organizers and the speakers, if you can tell me which barriers for women in the refractory industry do you feel are still the most persistent? Like what is still there that can be changed that will make it better? Yeah, and I don't know who wants to start. It's not an easy question. Do you want that I pick the names? Nicole, are you here with maybe Tobias? Can I go with you?
Well, when it comes to the barriers for women, I may not be the perfect
That's why I
first
picked you.
person to answer that question, but I think the barrier that exists the most is still lack of visibility of women in our industry. I mean, when I attend big conferences, there's mainly male attendees. The most of the women that I see at these conferences are hostesses, which are not really part of the industry or something like that. So I think it's the visibility that still needs to grow within our industry. And I mean, this webinar and all events that took place in the past are the perfect example to share that visibility. And it's fantastic that inspiring women like Katrin, Nicole, and all of you together are bringing out that message. So I think it's clearly the visibility that lacks the most.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I would agree here. I think that when you see, like, when young, like, women or male, like everybody, when they see somebody who succeed and who didn't have the clear path, maybe they are like encouraged. So I think that you are right that visibility will change things and the stories like we heard today. Nicole, do you maybe have answer to this question?
Which barriers are for women?
Yeah.
Well, I think it also depends a little bit. I mean, the refractory industry includes so many different jobs. My role, Katrin's role, your role, and there are so many different job descriptions. It is a little world with so many opportunities. And of course, different challenges and barriers, as you said. And it's very much depends on what exactly you are doing. If I look at my personal job, it involves a lot of traveling, long distance traveling for Asia. This is not possible for everyone, and it requires flexibility from your employer, flexibility from your family. You mentioned I am married. I'm a mother of 2 small children. So you need a lot of flexibility. And yes, and I can imagine in other roles, there are different obstacles. And then the more you try to be flexible and be creative also, then you will always, I would say you will always find some solution. But some barriers barriers can be chances, changes, and then and I think Katrin said a very important sentence. I really like that sentence. You don't have to do everything yourself. So there are always people around you and supporting you or having the idea, maybe even for you or together with you.
That's a nice message. Thank you, Nicole. Katrin, do you have comment?
Yeah, so last year we ran a survey at Women at Refractories that also had some very interesting questions exactly on this topic. So what is still hindering and what barriers do women see in the industry? And I cannot repeat all results, but what some key findings show, it's not only one thing, it's in general, of course, the industry is still very male dominated. And of course, males have a different view on certain topics. Yeah. So the whole system and organization is actually focused on male thinking. And this is not how women think. And it does, of course, it's very natural. So I do not want to blame the male colleagues. It's very normal. Yeah, if you are in a group of women and they are chatting around on certain topics, they also have a very, very focused view on something. And I think it's awareness we need that, of course, people are different. And it's actually not only about male and female, it's about all the diversity we have in our industry, and to understand. So this is a very cultural topic also, to understand there are different perspectives, and it's actually our goal to create an inclusive environment, for everybody, and to get all the great competencies we have already in, to make them more visible, and to let people really show their talents. So it's not only one barrier we are talking about, it's actually a very huge thing, and it all starts with awareness, and I think this helps to build next steps.
Thank you so much. This was very beautiful. Sandra, do you have a conclusion for this question?
About barriers, I found something very interesting in the presentation of Catherine. It was when she presented a slide between individual people and community. And I think if we want that women more visible in refractory industry, we need a community as women refractory networks. So if we need visibility, as Tobias said, and also for the different culture we have in refractory field, so we need a community. So we need women at refractories and ECerS refractory networks as well. This is my conclusion.
I agree with you, Sandra. It's a very good conclusion. Yes, thank you. Yes, I agree. I agree that change only can be made if we come together. Thank you so much to everybody for answering it. It was not easy question. We have a question for Nicole in a chat. So the question goes, how long did it take you to feel comfortable speaking Chinese? And what was the learning process like for you?
Yes, this is a very interesting question. Actually, I've been asked this a couple of times, and or how long will somebody need to learn Chinese until they're really fluent? Well, things that are difficult, it doesn't go overnight, of course. And it took me, I would say, to explain myself. I mean, I studied it. I was like a full-time student. I was doing this as my main occupation as a student. So the progress was quite fast, but for the conversations that I learned in a book. So I had, as I mentioned, good results. I felt very comfortable. Then I arrived in China. I felt like I had never learned anything. So it was a completely different reality. I even struggled to order food, like that kind of reality. So, but what I learned is that you have to leave your comfort zone. And once you get out of your comfort zone, the progress is much faster. So I never try to have it like in an easy way, because I notice that when it is uncomfortable, indeed, I have the best results. And I mean, there are some students who like to stay in a bubble, and then they look out for German students for other Germans, and but if you want to really have a fast progress, it depends on the dedication, of course, of everyone, very individual.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Yes, I think that there is a nice message in your answer, and that's like if you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, you will grow most. So just like show yourself or try to. But there is a really, participants, you can continue write your questions or comments in the chat. But there is like one question that might be connected to this one, and maybe Katrin, you can be the one starting to answer, and we can go in the circle. And this is I think it connects to how comfortable do you feel speak Chinese, and this is the question goes, how can someone grow if they don't have a strong network? So I remember for me when I was really young, the biggest fear was to start networking. So Katrin, if you can give us some directions here, and we will go in the circle.
Yeah, very interesting question. I think we all started on the ground. So no one raises up with a huge network. That's normal. But everybody from us learned from kindergarten through school to connect with other people, and it's actually it's to take the first step, and you can, if it is a small hello, if it is to smile at someone, to show that you're open to connect, and you don't have to be a strong networker. So I can tell you I'm not, I'm a very introvert person, but I learned over time that if I'm open to others, they are open to me too. And then you start to connect with people, and then you see people that are interesting. You learn about more things, people think about you. And so it's really to just start. And of course, you will not have a strong network overnight, but you need to start. And nowadays, with all the opportunities, we have in social media, it's actually very simple. The barrier is low. And then to engage more and more, these are the following steps.
Thank you so much. Nicole, do you want to continue?
Sure. So to build a network, I remember the first time I reached out to Tobias, the co-founder of Women at Refractories. Even in this situation, I felt a little bit strange because I thought he never met me. He has no idea who I am. And then he will suddenly receive my message that writing that I'm interested in Women at Refractories and that I like what he's doing. Let's just write it. Of course, I didn't know how he will react. And I was hoping that he will respond. But at that time, I did not know it. He could have just ignored me. He could have blocked me. Everything could have happened. So sometimes you just have to push yourself a little bit and take a risk. And the risk is actually not that big.
Thank you. Sandra, do you want to continue?
Yeah. What kind of additional information can I put after Nicole? Because you said great words. So I have not enough word to say.
No worries. I think that you are amazing example actually, because you are like so active in the Refractories network that actually your actions show how to build a strong network.
So as Nicole said, just I want to say that you just have to push the doors and to open the doors.
Thank you so much.
It is simple.
Yes, and maybe if I can reframe the question for Tobias, not for only Tobias, sorry, Kerstin, you're both of you. It is like what women at Refractories can give to the others for building the strong network. How can we use your network?
I think mainly it's just a place where people can connect. I think that's the whole point that was missing until we established Women at Refractories. Just a safe space where women can connect and share ideas and talk about barriers and how to overcome them. And I mean, just responding to Nicole, how could I not answer your question? I mean, that's the only right step to take action, and even if it's a small step, because I absolutely can relate to that. I'm also an absolute introvert by myself. I mean, there were years where the only light that shined upon my face were those from the screen when I sat in front of a computer, and you don't always have to put the pedal to the metal if you want to be part of a community. Sometimes you can also just start by, I don't know, just connecting and visiting from a safe distance and just looking, okay, what is this initiative or this community doing? And just by gathering information of what is happening, you might get an idea of what your own role in this community might be in the future. So I just can invite everyone to take this small step to say hello or write an email or, I don't know, connect on other platforms. But that's the only way these communities can build and grow.
Yeah, and when I was younger, I was not a good networker, but I changed my mind. I didn't like small talk because I thought, oh, it's so cringe to just talk about weather or whatever. But I changed my mind, and I'm really interested in the perspective of people. So I'm interested to talk to others and to hear what they have to say. And now I don't feel so uncomfortable with talking to people because I don't have to push myself, because I'm really interested in hearing what they say.
Thank you so much. Yes, I think that the main message here for our participants is that you can contact them if you have initiative or idea. This is the message we got. But if I can also comment, I think that a lot of engineers, and myself included, is we are like introverts by nature, and we are trained extroverts, and that took time. I remember first time when I was young and at the early stage of my career, I went to United States to the conference, and I was very scared, and I didn't talk to people, but I met one girl and she was like super extroverted, and she was talking to me and she said like, okay, Antonia, catch you later because I need to go and network. And I was like, okay. So there is like, she has a purpose of like using the conference to network, to build a network. And then I started to realize this is also something you really do and think about it and have strategy about it. Yeah. If I can just read the comment before I go to the next question, and the comment in the chat is really nice. So Catherine says, to all our lovely female colleagues, results not happen overnight, it happens over time. Keep growing, keep going and growing. Yes, thank you so much. And if I can continue with another question that I had, and this maybe overlaps a bit to our speakers. What do you see, like, what is the biggest quality in the leadership? So I think that both of you can like see that from different perspective. So Katrin, you are in HR, so you can see like how people behave. Nicole, you needed to change something because you are now leading like whole like teams in Asia. So what is the characteristic of the leaders that you think that are like crucial to have?
Shall I start, Nicole, and then I think so that leaders are creators of culture. Yeah, of course, also of business, but of the environment, of a safety space where people are open to speak up, also to focus on mistakes, to learn to make it better. And by this, growing business, growing personally. And this is the main task of a leader, to create this space. It's not easy, yeah, but actually that's it finally.
Thank you.
Characteristics of a leader. In my particular role, if I may still call me young, as a young woman. I am a leader not only for people similar to my profile, I'm also a leader for senior women that are going to retire, men who have maybe a sick wife at home, parents that have their children studying abroad that need financial security. I try to really understand the reality of my team members. And I think to be a good leader, you just have to have compassion and compassion and have empathy to really understand what their need is, to give them space to feel safe and really speak openly what they need and yes, especially in this multicultural background. I mean, we have people in Asia who celebrate Chinese New Year. It's the most important thing for them. Others who celebrate Ramadan. Others who celebrate Diwali in India. So there are so many things. This is not just empathy. This is actual learning facts to really understand what is this about and try to understand why is it important for them and how can I create the circumstances in a way so that they feel respected the way they are, including their culture and their mentality and everything.
Thank you, Nicole. I think that I could see, I read a lot of books on leadership, and I think that what you now did is actually you explained us in a different, like you were talking all the time about people you lead. And I really like that because that shows how good leader you are because you didn't talk about yourself at all. So I think that I just saw the example of what I was reading about. Thank you so much. And if I can conclude this webinar with the last question, and we can go in the circle. Kerstin and Tobias, you can go first, then we can go to Sandra, and finally to our speakers. And this is, what is the one final thing you hope participants will take with them from today's webinar?
I think for me, we have to tackle a really big list of problems, not only in our industry, but also in our society. And I think to tackle these problems, we need diversity, but we do not only need the diversity when it comes to gender, but also when it comes to perspectives and backgrounds. And I think that's the main key to keep our society and civilization alive in the end. So yeah, that's the main takeaway for me.
Thank you.
For me, the most important thing is please connect with each other and support each other. And together we are stronger than we are as an individual. Yeah. So I think you do the right thing in being here in the venture of these two networks.
Thank you so much. Sandra, I can go to you now.
Yeah, for me, it's also the same thing like Christine. The most important thing is to connect, to share with other people, because without sharing, you obtain nothing. You do only things stand alone, not with collaboration. So it is really important to collaborate, to share, to connect, not to do everything by your own, but with collaboration.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Nicole?
Yes, I think one thing that I wish the listeners and participants of this webinar take home is that they should really be courageous and to speak to people that are just different to themselves. And especially when it comes to you know, different levels in your professional career. Like in this example, we, Katrin and myself, we are head of and then something. You will also meet CEOs, you will meet people with very nice sounding titles, but I encourage you, really never be intimidated and just go and talk to them. And sometimes I really know that they will appreciate you to reach out to them. And yes, this is my message.
Thank you so much. And Catherine for the end.
I think everything was mentioned already. There's not really a lot to add. And I also shared a lot about communities and why it is important. So I'm looking forward to meet more women. So connect with us. And I think we can build together great things. We can be even more stronger than we are already. And it's not only for you, for us, it's also for the generation. The future generations that come.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would like to thank to our organizers for organizing such an important webinar, to our speakers for giving us such inspirational talks and so many nice tips, let's say, and examples. I would like to thank to our Veronique, who you see, I didn't mention her, but he's our CEO of ECerS, also a very powerful woman, and our Donatella administration officer from the ECerS. So thank you for doing everything that this webinar is possible. And I would like to thank also to participants for being with us. I hope it was useful for you. And as you heard, you can connect with everybody that you saw here today. Yes, with that, thank you so much and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you also from you, Antonia.
Yeah, big thanks
Thank
to
you.
you, Antonia. That was great. Good job.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, and have a nice end of the day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.